Canada's snack foods now made with crickets as primary ingredient. And they're rolling them out in the school lunch programs. You will eat the bugs. And FEMA says, get prepared now. There may not be enough food soon.
They'll move you into this smart system and break down the supply chain, so you're going to be eating their bugs and be happy about it. And in fact, you already are eating their bugs, folks, if you haven't really been reading the labels on things lately. Or maybe it might be time to start reading labels on packets. That's just the way it goes, you know, you're getting fed bugs. Putting them in the food, putting them in everything they can, and imagine it gets to the point where people are used to eating insects. I mean, you've got Angelina Jolie there eating insects in that video, and Nicole Kidman doing videos of eating bugs. Imagine when people get used to eating insects and they start just grabbing them live out of the garden and eating them. And there's parasites that get into insects. Hundreds, like thousands of parasites. They even say that, you know, insects are an unknown reservoir of parasites, of human and animal parasites contained in insects. There's one particular parasite that gets into, I think, crickets or grasshoppers or locusts or something, and it takes over their minds. It's a kind of almost like a hydra type parasite, and it takes over their minds and makes them do whatever the parasite wants them to do, and eventually the cricket will jump into a pond and drown itself once the parasite is fully grown, so the parasite can get out of the cricket's body.
These hairworms are gnarly parasites. They actually control a cricket's mind to get to their home, the water. The hairworm's journey starts innocently enough in a river as an egg, one of many in this long string. The eggs grow into squiggly larvae, which get eaten by a mayfly larva that also lives in the river. And inside the mayfly is exactly where the hairworm needs to be. The hairworm uses this pointy part to burrow into the mayfly's flesh. Then it curls up and waits. Because really, it's not after a mayfly, it's after a cricket. So it sits tight, while the mayfly larva turns into an adult and heads to dry land, where it just might get eaten by a cricket that has no idea what it's in for. Inside the cricket, the hairworm goes at it, eating all the cricket's stored up fat for about a month. The cricket loses its chirp, but the hairworm doesn't kill the cricket because the worm needs a lift back to the water. Crickets usually avoid bodies of water. They're not great swimmers. So the worm takes over, boosting chemicals in the cricket's brain, which make the cricket walk around mindlessly until it happens to reach water. Scientists in France watched this infected cricket make a beeline for the pool. The hairworm makes a break for it.
Imagine when people start just eating crickets and eating grasshoppers and stuff like this, and they're full of these parasites that control your mind. It's going to be interesting. And what sort of zombies are we going to have running around when we see that happening, folks? I mean, maybe we already are.
And Wesley Wallace says he's been dealing with monkeypox for 3 weeks now, and it's not over yet. We want to warn you, this illness is graphic in nature, and we do not want to hide the severity of some of its symptoms, but you should know some of these images are hard to watch. Wesley Wallace says just being awake,
it hurts to exist,
is excruciating.
As you can see, from the time it started, it's just progressed and gotten worse and worse.
It's right there on his face. What he first thought was just a pimple.
I was like, oh God, please not me, please not me.
Soon turned out to be monkeypox. 8 different lesions on his chin, even one inside his mouth.
Every sip, every bite, It's just like, oh, I can't, it hurts, it hurts, it hurts.
And it's spreading.
Now random little lesions are starting to appear on my body. So one on my hand, there's one here, like there on my wrist.
Wallace thinks he caught the virus at a bar July 4th weekend.
I'm going to say I probably was kissing somebody that had it and didn't know it, just based on where my initial lesions pop up.
But says access to the vaccine.
There's a huge high-risk population that is just hungry for the vaccine, and they don't have access to it.
Has been so scarce, his friends are leaving the state to get it.
I have friends that are actually buying airline tickets, flying to other cities just to go get the vaccine and then come home.
He says along with the pain and the symptoms can come isolation.
The thing is, you look at it and it's such an ugly virus. You know, you look at it, you just recoil, and you're like, oh, I don't want to be anywhere near that. I knew the stigma that might come with it, but I also know that lots of people are facing that stigma.
He has support, but wants others to know they're not alone.
Just let them know that they're not some kind of pariah, that they're not dirty.
If you see something, say something.
So what's the microchip do to the people that purchase them? Like, how do they work for the average day person?
Well, we'll release the nanobots to take over the neural cortex, and then I run them from my PlayStation. I guess just create a seamless and friction-free everyday lifestyle. I mean, I have to look for my keys, my wallet, my this, that. If I get my gym card in my bag, when I change bags, I get to pay a fine, a 2-year-old fine if I don't have my card. So I'll get it in my shipping point instead. Entrance to the office, I get an entrance to the gym. I deactivate and activate the alarm. Do the shopping for a drink with the microchip. That little sequence alone has saved me maybe a minute. One chip to rule them all. Well, and you predefine your digital experience. Like, all right, what do you want happening Monday through Thursday when you enter the office? If I enable you to tie your digital persona to your actual physical person by integrating technology into your body, and I'm giving you a digital voice that can speak for you in machine's native language, but also if you can't speak for yourself. Like, you find a horse running around in the Stockholm city center, they gave him a digital voice, or her. So I don't have one. I do now, but they don't know it. So if they find me on the street and I'm diabetic, they're going to think I'm drunk and put me in the drunk tank, and I'm going to die, which is boring. I want to make things easy because I always forget my shit. And when you think of it, I mean, I forget all my stuff because I'm fairly limited. Because I'm a human being. Of course, there's ways to train your memory and jog your memory. I can write Post-its and put all my stuff in the same place all the time, but I forget to do that as well. So having everything stuck in my hand at all times makes my life very simple. And I want to make it simple for everyone else as well, because I can. So next step, some more services and adding more value, take away administration, and I don't know, make stuff better. There's so much that's crap that really needs to be improved.
Hello, human. The restaurant is over there. Bathrooms are there. And there. If you need a human receptionist, they are over there. One day I will dream of electric sheep. Epicenter welcomes you home.
Going to implant this nice young lady with a NFC microchip.
computers to the TV to the phones to the like LP player and to Awesome. That's so much fun. Just like thinking about technology, building, whatever. So that's also one thing. I mean, this is a new technology coming, so I love it.
Jos tällainen teknologia, ihon alle tai kehoon asennettava teknologia tulee, niin sitten yllättäen niitä on kaikkialla. Mutta jälleen kerran siihen liittyy sitten tietoturva ja muut tällaiset seikat. Ja pitää varmaan hyvin tarkkaan miettiä, että puututaan siihen, että tällainen teknologia ei lähetä käyttäjästään mitään tietoja sellaisille tahoille, jotka sitä tietoa ei tarvitse. Jos ei ole itse ollut mukana seuraamassa vierestä asti, että miten sellainen siru valmistetaan ja mitä kaikkea siihen tulee, niin sanoisin, että kannattaa olla tosi varovainen ennen kuin sellaisia ottaa kehonsa ja kannattaa miettiä niitä tarkoitukset tosi huolellisesti.
That's quick. You got a strawberry back there? That's chocolate. That's vanilla. Quit playing. Now we're talking. Bunny's up, buddy.
Here's to that classic, delicious taste. Bunny's up, buddy.
You gotta move. Ridiculous.
This profanity-laced rant sent veteran Cincinnati police officer Rose Valentino to desk duty. On April 5th, she was pulling into the District 3 station to fill out a report when she noticed vehicles lined on the street to pick up students from school. She activated her lights and quickly became angry when they didn't move.
Is she gonna just sit there?
Body and dash camera video just released by CPD shows what happened next.
Dumb. Oh, I hate him so much. Oh, I hate this world.
After rolling up her cruiser's window, she uses the N-word.
Hate him.
Valentino told investigators a black student gave her the finger, which led to her outburst. She was one of 4 officers profiled by WNWT and featured in a nationally televised reality show in 2011, Police Women of Cincinnati.
Never a dull moment. You go into every situation as if it's the first time, you've dealt with that sort of thing.
In Valentino's most recent performance review, dated after the rant, she was complimented as a hard worker who uses good judgment. A supervisor recommended she study for the promotion exam. In January 2019, this official reprimand says Valentino showed body cam footage from a homicide at the Glenway Pony Keg to family members while having dinner at the casino. In March 2020, she was arrested off duty. Her sister and brother-in-law accused her of pushing and hitting them with a closed fist and using an umbrella to repeatedly strike a vehicle. She pled guilty to disorderly conduct, a misdemeanor, and was ordered to attend an anger management assessment. 2 years later, she admitted she did not have control of her emotions here.
I hate it.
Valentino told internal investigations, "This is a hard job, and I was getting to a point where I was really being affected by it. I've been on for 14 years.
Thanks for watching our YouTube channel. Follow today.
To be clear, I think one of the things we're talking about here is that there are now weapons under development and developed that are designed to target specific people. That's what this is, where you can actually take someone's DNA, take their medical profile, and you can target a biological weapon that will kill that person, or take them off the battlefield, or make them inoperable. So you can't have a discussion about this without talking about privacy in commercial data and the protection of commercial data, because expectations of privacy have degraded over the last 20 years. Young folks actually have very little expectation of privacy. That's what the polling and the data show. And people will very rapidly spit into a cup and send it into 23andMe and get really interesting data about their background. And guess what? Their DNA is now owned by a private company and can be sold off with very little intellectual property protection or privacy protection. And we don't have legal and regulatory regimes that deal with that. So we have to have an open and public discussion, and this is going to have to be a political discussion about what does the protection of healthcare information, DNA information, and your data look like, because that data is actually going to be procured and collected by our adversaries for the development of these systems.
Also, if we look at food security, and what can our adversaries do with biological weapons that are directed at our animal agriculture, at our agricultural sector, hoof and mouth disease, highly pathogenic avian influenza, African swine fever. All of these things have circulated around the globe, but if targeted by an adversary, we know that it brings about food insecurity.
We cannot hide away from human population growth because, you know, it underlies so many of the other problems. All these things we talk about wouldn't be a problem if there was the size of population that there was 500 years ago.
Thanks also to the leadership of China in terms of fighting the pandemic, in terms of reinvigorating its economy. We have now a window of opportunity to create this global reset which we all need.
China developing horrifying nuclear drone torpedo swarm to match Putin's doomsday Poseidon nuke.
Right, so this was in the Sun today, and we actually have a still here of what we're talking about. So basically these are nuclear-powered torpedoes that having just incredible range. Most torpedoes maybe have a range of a few miles, but a nuclear-powered torpedo and has a throwaway nuclear reactor could travel the entire distance between China and the U.S.
Are you serious? One torpedo could be launched from Shanghai, from China,
or you could launch dozens or even hundreds of them all across the Pacific, all across the North American seaboard there, and not know where any of them are. So
how would we ever stop it? How would we stop a swarm of nuclear torpedoes coming at us from both coasts?
Step one, get inside fast.
And that's the question. And this is an advancement in their technology now. So they think about underwater drones. This is really what they've become now. Now, they don't move at supersonic speeds or anything like that, and they don't create the Poseidon-like tsunamis or anything, but they could possibly carry warheads in them. But they only travel 35 miles an hour, so they don't get alerts on sonar like other underwater drones do and everything, so they can move. It could take days for one of these underwater drones to actually get to the West Coast, but by that time you could have 100 of them. So
yeah, the original story was published in Hong Kong in the South China Morning Post, and this article says Chinese scientists plan disposable nuclear reactor for long-range torpedo.
Right. And one of the reasons for this, Rick, is their extreme low cost. Now, you would think a nuclear reactor low cost, but the Chinese can mass produce these. A Beijing research team says it has completed the conceptual design for a small, low-cost nuclear reactor that would be able to drive a swarm of torpedoes across the Pacific Ocean in about a week. The Chinese researchers are proposing a mini version of the Russian Poseidon unmanned submarine, the world's first known underwater drone powered by nuclear energy. Now, unlike the Poseidon, which cannot be mass-produced because it's too big, expensive, and destructive, the mini version could be fitted into a standard torpedo tube and launched in large numbers from almost any submarine or warship, the scientists said. So that's the potential that we've got there. Each torpedo would use a disposable nuclear reactor to reach and maintain a cruising speed of about 35 miles per hour for 200 hours before dumping the reactor to the seabed and drawing power from a battery to launch an attack with conventional weapons.
I continue to be much more concerned when it comes to our security with the prospect of a nuclear weapon going off in Manhattan.
We've got both the Russians and the Chinese with the same type of drone torpedo.
Right.
Nuclear-powered drone torpedo. And coming at us from both directions.
For every battle of the warrior is with confused noise, and garments rolled in blood. And this shall be with burning and fuel, fire, fire.
live in North Carolina, which is located in the South in the United States, and I'm proud to be from North Carolina. I love my state. You got the coast on one side, you got the mountains on the other, and I live in the middle. But North Carolina, as every other state here in the United States, has some places that are honestly pieces of shit. And so the picture that you see behind me here is a billboard that used to stand in Johnston County, North Carolina until the late 1970s. Johnston County is in the middle of the state of North Carolina and borders Wake County. Wake County is home to our state capital of Raleigh. And I want to talk to you about a little town that's inside of Johnston County, and that town is the name of Kinley. You can Google this, and because if this story has not already made national news, I'm sure it will make national news soon. See, back on June 2nd, the town of Kinley hired a new town manager, and her name was Justine Jones. Miss Jones just happens to be an educated black woman who has worked as the town manager of several different towns all around the United States. But yesterday, the town of Kinley said, hold the fuck up. And the entire police department, the city clerk, and the utilities clerk all resigned from their jobs and said that this new town manager had created a toxic work environment that was so toxic they could no longer continue to work there. Now you tell me how the hell a new town manager creates a toxic work environment in less than 2 months.
According to the Daily Beast, 2 leading Russian lawmakers told Russian newspaper that the real reason the invasion has gone so poorly is because Ukrainian troops, they have been turned into mutant super soldiers at labs run by the U.S. Yes, you heard that correctly. Earlier this year, a conspiracy theory that U.S. manufactured bioweapons in Ukraine also went bio.
What is the Black Awakening? It's related to the Red Horse Prophecy Revelation. It's related to 2 Thessalonians 2, when it says about the day of the Lord, the parousia. That day will not occur until the apocalypse of the Antichrist and the apostasia, the word rebellion or revolt. That's all really defined in the prophecy of the Red Horse. But here's where the term came from and why I used it purposely. When I started dealing with ritually abused individuals, and then we dealt with military-oriented, highly trained, programmed shooters and assassins inside of them. When we began to deal with them, I dealt with someone from Fort Bragg for quite a while and a few others. We were sitting in a lake, Conneaut Lake. They reached over and ripped open my shirt to see if I was wired, if I was wiring and recording them. And they were the most sophisticated satanic warrior type person. They knew 5-6 languages. They knew the ancient Twilight languages. They knew how to conjure. They knew how to use Belteshazzar, Okwam, all these old Pictish languages of the Druids to summon. They are the real Luciferian. They've been through many human sacrificial things. So they sat there to tell me some of those things, what they've been involved with, how they sacrifice a human. I'm listening to all this stuff from them. And then they said to me, you have no idea, Russ, how many of us there are out there. How many satanic, they use the term, chosen ones. You have no idea how many. You have no idea what's coming. We smell Christian blood. We are waiting for our day. And when the call is given, millions of us will be released. And they looked at me and said, you believe in revivals and you believe in Pentecost and the power of God. You believe in all that. We believe in the Black Awakening, a multi-continental release of power to activate the program demonized, where they've weaponized the demonic powers to these super soldiers.
Are they waiting for a specific time to unleash the power?
Yeah, they are, because they have to do it at the moment the Antichrist is, like you read in 2 Thessalonians 2, that it's caught the echo, the restrainer is holding back the apocalypse of the Antichrist, the unveiling in his movement. So right now he's held restrained. As soon as he who restrains is removed, as soon as that occurs, we have White Horse, the release of the Antichrist. Instantly, we have the release of the Red it says the whole earth. Arraign, a piece is taken from the whole earth, and all of a sudden, it doesn't give the details, but all of a sudden, on a global scale, people are released to begin to, the Greek word is sphadzo, slaughter, begin to slaughter people. It's used of animal ritual butchery to begin to slaughter individuals. That's exactly how they defined it to me back in the 90s. And we've heard this again and again and again. So that scenario fits the Masonic version of Chaos Before a New Order. It fits Father Meridon from the Cathedral of the Black Goat, his book, The Devil's Bible. It fits that scenario too. So some of the oldest, darkest occultists, the idea of chaos first, a collapsing of everything so that a new order can rise, that's all by design. And we've been given the heads up in prophecy, but all prophecy has boots on the ground. It'll all, eventually happen. So I do believe that millions and millions of these trained, programmed, altered, demonized super soldiers, whether we want to say it or not, they believe they're being raised to help bring the Antichrist in. When I was in England just a few months ago, their top guy that deals with SRA, Wilfred Wong, 25 years. So first time I meet him, I pull him aside and I said, listen, you've been doing this 25 years, yeah? I said, you know all about programming and demons, all that? Yes. I said, I looked right at him and I said, Wilfred, why are they here in England? Instantly, he said, they are here to collapse our government. They are here to help bring in and usher in the Antichrist and a new order. He didn't know. He already knew. That's true in Germany when we were in Germany, when we went to Wedelsberg Castle. That's true in Poland when we went there. That's true in Switzerland. That's true in Canada. So when we talk about our research in 38 years worldwide, there may be well over 100 million generations of them. And if even half, or even if 10% were intact, like say the United States, remember the shooter in Vegas? Look what he did. Look what that guy did, okay? Notice what would happen if 10,000 of them, or like Colorado Holmes, or like Jared in Arizona, what if 10,000 of them were released in 1 week? That's their plot plan, and biblical prophecies ahead of that to say, here is what is going to happen. And from that, a global monetary collapse, and from that's all that chaos is coming. So Revelation 13, a whole new order with the Antichrist can come.
Scary stuff.
Yeah, can be. It's scary for the world. For us, yeah. We know no matter what. Yeah.
Bolden with the Holy Spirit. Yeah. So next question. This is a two-part question. First part: does SRA exist, and if so, how prevalent is it in society today?
Yeah, satanic ritual abuse, and I can say it this way, it not only exists, satanic ritual abuse is inseparably connected to multiple personality disorder. All of society knows since the late 70s, and even DSM-3, DSM-4, those are the diagnostic manuals for psychology. They all know that all of a sudden, multiplicity started showing up everywhere. They call it DID now. So the secular world, they're registering, millions coming in for diagnosis on that. Now, they don't know how to handle the satanic side. So I'm going to tell you just straight out, after 38 years of dealing with it, not only is SRA real here in the United States, that there are millions of victims by design, that there's now generations of them. We deal with 65 and 70-year-olds. They're the first generation. Then we go to 40-year-olds and 20-year-olds. I got 8-year-olds and 12-year-olds we're dealing with. Because if you don't stop this somewhere, they do it to the next generation. That's by design. That's the way it's supposed to be for them. So, but it occurs in selection. It's generational. It and it's simply to say that they bring a lot of trauma to the child to cause split in personality so that they can demonize and or begin to program. You're going to be a witch, you're going to be a conjurer, you're going to be a program shooter. All kinds of these things happen. And then they're raised in that system, and they're raised to keep all of that hidden down and just have kind of little Joey up or little Sally up. And they may not know until they're 15, 16, they may not know what's inside them till later on. But millions have already showed up at psych wards all across America since the late 70s to this day. We look at a child and automatically we're going to protect them, save them, guard them, whatever it takes. They look at a child, they'd eat it alive, they destroy it, they torture it. You got to remember that's their nature. And so if they can show more of their nature to a defenseless child, they love that. That's why some rituals are called demon revels or satanic revels. The younger the child, here's exactly what dark undergrounders have said to me, the younger, the better. And we never kill them right away. We prolong the torture. Why? Because we have to raise the energies, the terror, the fear, and then little by little letting some blood out, because blood is and all that torment, it's like, think in terms of rats and garbage. Smelly old garbage draws the rats. A ritual with all that torture, with all that pain, ultimately prescribed by the demons in the first place, it draws them. And once they begin to open the blood gate, that's what they attach to in the context ritual. Then when a child or a human is killed, that's when the demons are released to the practitioners. So it's all about their unsatiable hatred of God. Anything they can do to harm humanity, harm innocence as an attack on God in a sense. There's no question in their nature, they don't shed a tear. They don't have any mercy. So they'll harm, and they love that as part of the entrance to come into the side. Here's the other side of it. We've been to Canada, Scotland, Geneva, Switzerland, Germany, Poland. They're all over there. We just got back from Scotland, UK, and we met one of the guys there, one of the leaders in the whole nation on the subject, and same issue. It stems from the original Nazis creating a master race. Wherever the Nazis went in the early 50s, rat lines all around the planet, wherever you see them going to escape, then you see the rise of SRA. So we need to rename this. SRA that's the tools to hammer this in and to augment these people and to bring the demonization and to create them. But really it is part of the master race development that started back in the late 30s. And Himmler's goal was to create 200 million of them.